Um, I've had a lot of things going on in my head this week, as usual. A lot of urging me to go into this study of spiritual warfare. We train all the time. We get briefed all the time about war scenarios. We get briefed all the time about terrorist scenarios. The place I was at this week um, was actually at the Nevada field office for NNSS, a security site out there. It's a burial ground that a lot of us use. It's also a test facility. It's been used for years. If you know anything about our nation's history, the Nevada test site has been a crucial part of that. So I was able to go out there again this week, and I've been out there a few times, and it never disappoints. The things that you learn, the folks that are out there teaching those classes, and the experience that you get out there, it never disappoints. I learn something new every time I go. But going to Vegas really makes you think about your spiritual warfare. And I've had a lot of people both ways. Ooh, you went to Vegas? Bet that was fun. And ooh, you went to Vegas? I thought you was a preacher. Yeah, I've heard it both ways. But I'm telling you, a Christian can go to Vegas. A Christian can go to Vegas. And I'm not going to try to be a commercial here, because I'm not sure if Andy's even broadcasting, but I'm not going to be a commercial here to promote going to Vegas. But I'm telling you, a Christian can go to Vegas. I've been to Vegas a lot. And in my past, I've been to Vegas for a lot of different reasons. I've passed through in a truck. I've went on government business. You don't want to stay in Beatty, Nevada, not unless you got a tent and a weapon to keep the snakes off of you. You don't want to stay up around that test site. There's nothing there. You want to stay, if you go out there and stay and you do work for the government, you stay somewhere in or around Las Vegas. It's up to you what you do with that. And I'm going to compare that to how many people went to the Smoky Mountains and stayed? Anybody ever spent the night in the Smoky Mountains? Right across the ridge from Harrah's Cherokee Casino. Okay? I'm gonna compare that to the same thing. It all depends on what you do with it. You can do the same thing in Harriman, Tennessee as you can in Las Vegas, Nevada. It depends on what you do with it, and that leads me back to spiritual warfare. If you want to take your Bibles and turn to the book of Ephesians, and we won't go into an in-depth study of the armor of God, but Ephesians 6:11 says, put on the whole armor of God that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers, of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Going to Vegas, the past couple of times I've been out there, I've had to really rethink myself and the reasons that we were going. All the folks that went out there stayed at the Golden Nugget, which has been totally remodeled. It's a very nice hotel. It's down around Fremont Street, and it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And what I remember, from 10 years ago, the Golden Nugget was not a place that you wanted to stay unless that's what you were there for. And promoting the gambling and promoting the legal marijuana, promoting the alcohol, promoting the adult trafficking trade, that's why a lot of people went to Fremont Street. We had lunch down there at a place called, I won't say this wrong, it's kind of funny, Nacho, like nacho chips. Nacho Daddy's the name of this chain that they've got out there, and they're famous for the different meals that they've got with their nacho chips. So we had lunch there one day. And when we parked at the parking garage there, we got to walk down the edge of Fremont Street and see all the changes that was made, all the shops, the street entertainers dancing, playing music, people ziplining down Fremont Street. A lot of families, saw a lot of families there. And with all the good that you saw and all the nice people that you saw the opposite too. So it's out there. And I got to thinking, you know, this is not too far from going to Gatlinburg. This is not too far from going to Nashville. This is not too far from going to San Francisco. You know, all these major towns and cities that we go to, it all depends on what we do with it. So did you put your whole armor of God on before you got up and came to church this morning? Because some of us are going to go out to eat lunch today. You're going to be exposed to others outside of our church family. Some of us are going to have lunch with other family members today that may not be in church. All these influences, these outside influences, I have to stop and think about now, because I never gave them much thought earlier in my life. A lot of folks that I hung out with, a lot of things that we did that we felt like were harmless. Some reason, you know, when I booked my flights and stuff this time, I had a more uneasy feeling about going to Nevada than I ever have before. But spending several days out there, it really got me thinking and praying about my spiritual warfare. Is it as strong as it needs to be? So finding a place to stay when I went out there, that was a big concern. So here I am sitting in my cubicle thinking about my whole armor of God, the reason I'm going to Las Vegas instead of going to church. It was weighing pretty heavy on me. I knew I had to go to that training. I knew I didn't have a choice, but can I get out of there by Wednesday? Well, the TCAP portion of that training didn't start till Wednesday, so there was no way I could get out Wednesday. So started looking down the strip to find out what's the decent hotels we could stay at and stay within our money. Looked at Cosmopolitan. It's a very chic, nice, new hotel. Not much else to do there but gamble and shop. Started looking at places that I've stayed before, and the only place that I could come up with that was even family friendly was the Excalibur. Excalibur is kind of a King Arthur theme. Looks like I wish I'd brought some pictures to put up to show the bright lights and everything. But I've seen a lot of families there before because it is a King Arthur theme. New York, probably not family friendly. But I did ride the roller coaster. That's something that I do by myself every time I go is I ride that roller coaster. Unfortunately, you got to walk through all that stuff to get to the roller coaster. So where's your armor of God? It felt different. It felt, it wasn't embarrassing, it wasn't anything else, but it felt different. And I guess I'm bragging on God for the changes that He's made in me, because used to, younger, you'd embrace that, the excitement, the bells, the whistles, I like to people watch. Maybe not participate in so much stuff, but people watch. So is that really condoning? I guess that would be considered condoning of behavior. So just trying to keep tunnel vision. You go in the front door right next to Statue of Liberty, go down the escalators, hang a right, go up that way, and you get to the roller coaster. You have to walk through the arcade. And there's a bunch of kids in there in the arcade. It's a killer arcade. Newest video games. I mean, the kid in me has a blast with that kind of stuff. All the racing games, all the 3D games, all that kind of stuff. And then you get on the roller coaster for, I don't know, a minute and a half. It's great. You're outside, you're flipping upside down, you see all the lights. It's a lot of fun. And then the long walk back to the hotel. So, long and the short of it is, I ended up picking a hotel called Paris. Paris has the Eiffel Tower, has a viewing tower, has something to do, but it was right across the street from the Bellagio. The Bellagio has a fountain show that after 8 o'clock, their time, which is 3 hour time difference, by the way, and I'm old, I didn't get to watch much of it. But after 8 o'clock, every 15 minutes, they have their water light show. It's real similar to the one that's in Pigeon Forge at the island, if you've ever been there. So I could walk right outside the hotel and cross the street and watch the light show and then go back upstairs. Not really enthused about going out and getting into anything else. It's right in the middle of a lot of nice restaurants, and there's a lot of great shows. If you're not cheap like me, you can go to see Blue Man Group. You can go see like 5 different Cirque du Soleils. And actually, a couple of the Cirque du Soleils they have are very, very good. A lot of acrobats. A couple of Cirque du Soleils, be careful what tickets you order because it might be a show that you don't want to watch. MGM has a tiger exhibit. Bellagio also has a garden, a very nice garden, and a art museum that's very nice. Walking around the shops in Paris, you can actually, when you park your car, walk through the shops and everything and never have to enter a casino. So a lot of those weigh on where and how you make your reservation. So I had to put the whole armor of God on before I chose a place to stay. If you want to stay off the strip, Artisan Hotel, Renaissance Las Vegas, Platinum, there are hotels there that don't promote gambling, believe it or not. Number one, number 2 business in Las Vegas, there are hotels there that do not promote gambling. Things to do, we talked a little bit about Cirque du Soleil, MGM, Treasure Island. They used to sink a pirate ship on the main strip there as one of their acrobatic shows, which was a lot of fun. Again, when you walk down the streets, places like this, I was thinking a lot about Gatlinburg and all the temptations that are there. All the shops, all the lights, all the beautiful colors this time of year. Everybody wants to flock to places like that to go and vacation and relax. But you know what's right in the middle of the block where Franny Farkles is in Gatlinburg? 2 crazy bars. There's a temptation there. There's always an exposure there. No matter where we go and we try to walk our Christian walk, there's always an exposure there to something or someone. The people that are out there on the strip selling tickets to bad shows, the people that are out there trying to entice you to come into this restaurant or that one. And if we're so dogmatic that we won't do anything at all that has anything to do with alcohol, stop shopping at Walmart. You see, the world that we're living in today bombards us. And nobody would think that there was anything harmful about going to Walmart, except for some of the folks that frequent Walmart. I've been to some of these towns and been to Walmart at midnight. Not a good idea. Yeah, no. They have websites dedicated to people of Walmart. You know that? Yeah. They're usually wearing pajamas. Hopefully wearing pajamas. And bad hair and all that. It's kind of a joke thing now. Oh, you're dressed for Walmart, I see. But we're bombarded everywhere that we go. So part of me was trying to justify where I was going to work. Part of me was trying to make sure that my armor was still showing. I didn't stand on the street with a sign. I did not do that. The folks that I talked to, I did introduce myself as a youth pastor, and I felt very proud to do that. The only confrontation I ran into was the front desk. Somehow they can't get key cards to work. It's 2018. How can you not get a key card to work to your room and your parking? I don't understand that. But putting on the whole armor of God doesn't have to be just when you go to a place like that. Putting on the whole armor of God is as soon as we open our eyes and first thing in the morning. things that we're exposed to, people we're exposed to, especially going to work or going to Walmart. There's other shows. Donnie Marie Osmond's still performing there. I've never paid to go in and see these shows. I'm too cheap. I think the cheapest show you can find there's like $50 a person. It's supposed to be really good. It's supposed to be family friendly. Cher was there Wednesday night. I'm not sure how family friendly Cher is anymore, but used to, that was a very good show. A lot of sightseeing things to do. There's mountains on one side. There's an air base on the other. There's a university right next to the airstrips there. Probably the biggest thing that we went to see was the Vegas sign, the old nostalgic Vegas sign. As you're coming north on I-15 going into town, you can get off there and see the old Vegas sign. And on the back side of it, it says, well, thank you for visiting. Because back in the day when that sign was put up, the only visitors that came out there would come out of California, and that's the quickest route back to Los Angeles. So I don't know how, being to all these cities and being to all these towns and traveling as much as I have, I don't know why Vegas was the only one that was nicknamed Sin City. Take a trip to LA one time. Take a trip to San Francisco one time. How about San Diego? San Diego's beautiful, right? You think it's full of all Christian folks that love 72-degree weather year-round? We get exposed to all different types of people everywhere, even La Jolla, California, which is right outside of San Diego. Just because they have a different financial status doesn't make people any different. All the same carnal, fleshly temptations and lusts that happen all over the rest of the world. Cirque du Soleil, the O at the Bellagio, Blue Man, Elvis. Yeah, I did see Elvis. I got a picture of Elvis if anybody wants to see it. He's driving a fluorescent green Jeep Wrangler, and he's taking pictures out at the old Las Vegas sign. He said he was Elvis, so, I had to take him at his word. Beatles. Did you know the Beatles are performing? If anybody's a Beatles fan. Several good shows with all the Beatles there. Imagine that. Figured out how that works yet, but they were all there. Putting on your whole armor of God doesn't mean you have to hide in the closet. Doesn't mean you can't go to the Cumberland County Playhouse. Doesn't mean you can't go to Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, Las Vegas, Nevada. It's what we do with it that we have to make up our own minds how we do it. I'm not an advocate of putting ourselves in a position of being bombarded with all these temptations and all these elements. I don't think that we should intentionally put ourselves in those positions. I don't think that we should intentionally walk into that bar and step up to the bar stool just to put ourselves under that kind of pressure. I can go in there and order water. Yes, I can. Yes. Why are we doing that to ourselves? Putting on the whole armor of God means protecting ourselves. It means getting our mind where it needs to be and protecting ourselves. Hiking, Hoover Dam, 24 miles from where I was staying, driving distance to Grand Canyon. Just the things that you can see in the desert that you can't see in the mountains. I do recommend everybody go to the desert. Now, whether you choose Las Vegas, Beatty, you go to the California high deserts, whatever. I do recommend all of us mountain folks make a trip to the desert so you appreciate your mountains a whole lot more after you get back. 3 days, I was missing my mountains. There's no color in that desert. Every now and then you'll see a cactus that's green, like you see on TV. Most of the time it's a dingy beige or yellowish or nasty. And half of it's falling off. There's no perfect cactuses out there like you see on TV. Those are plastic. But the sand, the humidity, the terrain is amazing. You can see God's handiwork in everything, everywhere that you go if you choose to. And that's a totally different type of terrain. I've been to Vail and got to see that. It's still not our mountains. I've been to the Rockies. I've been to Denver several times and looked out over the Rockies, and it's still not home. God's blessed me with the opportunity to go a lot of places and see a lot of things. And this is still home. Just somebody that could look outside and not take a second to think about God's beauty and the things that He's made. You know, I really don't like the fact that they've taken God's creation out there in the desert and turned it to that, I don't know how you'd say it, the first impression that you get when you hear you went to Vegas is not God's creation of that desert landscape. The first impression you think about when you go to Vegas, Los Angeles, and I'm picking on the West Coast because they're so much different than we are, but the first impression you get to where you go to one of those places is not God's creation. San Francisco is a very good city. What we hear about is all the bad stuff. We hear about the needle exchanges. We hear about the nasty ports. We hear about the alternative lifestyles. That's what we hear about because we hear about that on the news. But if you've ever get a chance to go to San Francisco, it's actually a very beautiful city. Market Street with the trolleys. Tammy and I were able to go there for our 25th wedding anniversary. And we stayed just outside the city. I'm cheap. We stayed on points. And we rode the trolleys downtown, all the historic stuff we got a chance to do. Ate at Fisherman's Wharf. I did. Tammy don't eat seafood, so I ate really good at Fisherman's Wharf. Alcatraz, one of the darkest places in history. You get to go tour that now and see how those folks lived. Putting on the whole armor of God is what you make it. We preach about the whole armor of God. We preach about being able to put on the whole armor of God, what each one of them stand for. You know, the breastplate of righteousness, the shoes, readiness to spread the good news, the shield of faith, the helmet of salvation, the sword is the word of God, the belt of truth. We preach about the whole armor of God. We preach about the fact that the armor of God covers everything but your back, because you got to keep going head first into this and keep this battle up and keep this armor on and protect yourself. But we thought about putting the whole armor of God on every single day when we open our eyes, not just when we decide to go to these places, not just when we would decide to go to Walmart, but if you thought about putting on your armor when you come to church. Seems like a safe place, right? But we need to put our armor on every day because we get bombarded every day from every direction. And it's important to be around other people so you don't have to cover your back. It's important to be around other good people, other church family folks, other people with the same mindset that we have. I know when I go somewhere with James Bullard that James has got my back. I hope that if we go anywhere together with anybody else in this room, you know that I've got your back. And we protect each other. We build each other up. We say nice things to each other, except for Kelly. And then me and Kelly just kind of go at it sometimes. But she knows I got her back. But we can't give up on this spiritual warfare thing. Because the minute that we do, the minute that we let our guard down. I'm walking out to FaceTime with Ashley this week. And I figured the boys would be in bed, but I wanted to show her the lights. So I walked out of the hotel, walked down kind of a half a block to get on the strip. And I started my FaceTime, and I'm talking to her. And next thing I know, I turn around, and there's showgirls walking down the strip behind me. And all they do is dress up in the feathers, and it's about all they have is feathers. And they try to get you to take pictures with them for money. And this little girl's like, take your picture with me. No. Why not? Because all you want's money. Well, this is how I make a living. I said, well, why are you even here? Well, I'm from Pennsylvania, and I used to vacation here a lot. And one day I just packed the Camry up and drove out, and here I am. And I said, now you're doing that for a living? She said, yeah, and turned around and walked off. I didn't mean to shame the girl. But the thing is, she was a beautiful young lady. If she was 20, she was a day. And one day she just packed her Camry up and drove in from Pennsylvania, and now she walks the strip each afternoon dressed up in feathers, taking pictures with strangers. And not to shame the girl. We've all got to eat. But she didn't put her whole armor of God on when she got in that Camry. She didn't put her whole armor of God on when she decided what she wanted to go and do and make a living with. She didn't put her whole armor of God on when she decided this is how I'm going to make my living to eat. I wasn't mean to her, but I didn't support her. A lot of other people I saw did that. A lot of other people gave her exactly what she asked for, smiled and took pictures, partied. Maybe one example can change somebody's life. Without shaming her, without trashing her, without judging her, maybe just one example of, no, I'm not going to support this for you. Maybe she'll think about that one day and pack her Camry up and go back to Pennsylvania. We can be examples to people when we're wearing our armor. We don't have to trash people. We don't have to judge people. We don't have to enable people to be an example to them. But we can put our armor on and treat everybody like people. We can put our armor on and be that example just by who we are, how we act, what we do and say. Finding an independent Baptist church to attend while you're on vacation. I looked it up on the map, and just in that one map snapshot from the mountains, see, where was we at? From the Calico Basin, which is the extreme western portion, all the way north till you got out in the desert, all the way over to Henderson, Boulder City. I counted 14 independent Baptist churches in the Las Vegas area. And looking those guys up and seeing what they stand for online, I really appreciate whoever's running our websites. Because when you go on vacation somewhere, you can always find an independent Baptist church to go to. Sometimes it's hard to find one. Sometimes it's hard to find a good church when you're just visiting for the week. We were blessed in Panama City to be able to go to Victory. That Sunday we were down there and got to meet those folks. And keep those folks in your prayer, by the way, because they're still rebuilding. They're still having church outside. The week after we were down there, of course, the storm hit, and it tore up a bunch of stuff, including their church. So please keep those guys in your prayers. Pastor down there has got a family, 4 great boys, all growing up in the ministry, wife that's teaching Sunday school. They're doing a lot of really good stuff. It felt like being home when we were down there. But you can always find an independent Baptist church to go to. I heard Preacher Wayne and Miss Reba talking about a church they went to last time they went up to, was it Townsend? Did y'all went and stayed up there? Where's Valley? I want to go up there because of that new, I want to go and drive that new road that's been like, 63 years in the making? It's not surprising that TDOT turned something into a lifelong project, but I'd still like to drive that road. That's probably going to be one of the most trafficked roads in the East for a long time. But just an opportunity to go to Wares Valley. I love it up there. If it wasn't so far from Oak Ridge, I'd try to talk Tammy into moving up there. I love it up there in the mountains. But, yeah, it'd be a good commute to come to church every day, every Sunday too. But we can always find a church to go to. When we're making our vacation plans, suggestion, before you pack the car, pull out the yellow pages, pull out the Google, pull out the hotel that you're going to go stay in and ask them. You'd be surprised at how much support you get, how much encouragement you could be to somebody else, maybe working the front desk 6 days a week. Just say, hey, are there any good churches around? What do you recommend? What do they mean? What do they stand for? And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. You're taking a week off, you still need to be fed. You can pack all the food in the coolers that you want. You can research all the restaurants. You can everything, but you still have to be spiritually fed. I know when I'm gone for a week, I really feel dragging. I really feel like I'm dragging. This week missing church, hate's a strong word, but Wednesday night I was hating life. We got out of training, grabbed something to eat, went back to the room. I had this wonderful view of the dumpsters behind the strip. I was in the back. Couldn't even see the Eiffel Tower. I had to walk downstairs to see the tower. That stunk. Anyways, the viewing tower is 480 feet above the strip. Great views everywhere except for my room. And I'm sitting there Wednesday night, pacing, waiting on an update. How many kids do we have? Everything go okay? And I'm calling. It's like 8:15. I'm trying to get a hold of Tammy or somebody, and everybody's busy, which is a good thing. It means kids showed up. But hate is a very strong word, but I was hating life Wednesday night. We all need to be fed. And putting on the whole armor of God and making the decisions that He wants us to make and treating people the way that we need to treat people, all that leads back to us being fed. And we can't skip a week. We can't skip a month. We can't skip 6 months. We need to be fed. And I feel like the more I get fed, I know, it's not a feel like, I know the more I get fed, the stronger I become. And the more I get fed with God's Word, the stronger and the better I feel. I struggle. I struggle with a lot of things. And if I go a week without hearing something, and it's not even about the music for me. People say, oh, I can get fed through K-Love. I can get fed through listening to old gospel music. I love it. I do. But I have to be around God's people. I have to be in my church. You guys help feed me, help encourage me. And when I go too long without that, I know I struggle. The depression is worse. The thoughts that gets in my head's worse. I miss my kids. By that, I mean all y'all's kids. I miss those. Sometimes I can pinch my kids' heads off, but I miss your kids. I miss their smiles. I miss that hug. That's all part of being fed. So, can we come together and can we all put our whole armor of God on? And can we be a church family? And can we keep doing the things that God wants us to do and put ourselves aside for a little bit and enjoy the service and be fed today? We're going to start a study on spiritual warfare. There's 30-something scriptures that I've found by searching so far that lead us into spiritual warfare and strength through God and power through Jesus Christ. So I want to start addressing that next week, if that's okay, and start looking at that. And I want to talk a little bit next week about this latest thing that happened in California, not too far from Los Angeles. If you've looked at the news any at all this week, we've had another shooting. And the lady on TV grieving for her son says, I hope to God I don't get any more prayers. That's what she said on national television. Now think about that a minute. I hope to God I don't get any more prayers. The lady is grieving. So please don't judge her. Please pray for her anyway. Please pray for those families out there. And we have to put our whole armor of God on to do that. Any questions or comments? Thanks for listening.